Welcome to the Practice Leader Podcast, brought to you by Ascent, a show for medical practice administrators who feel stuck in the daily chaos and want to lead with intention. I'm Zed Williamson, founder and CEO of Physician Growth Accelerator.
And I'm Paul Richards, president of Ascent and director of otolaryngology at the University of Utah School of Medicine. Every week, we explore what high-performing leaders are doing in real time, so you can stop reacting and start leading with purpose, strategy, and results.
Welcome to the Practice Leader Podcast. I'm your host, Zed Williamson, along with Paul Richards, and we are here at the Ascent Conference in Kansas City, and we are joined by Andrew DeMuth,
Yes.
Founder of Leading Blue.
Correct.
And really excited to hear your story. I'm a fan of the topic of leadership, and I like your perspective on it. And I know you're a speaker at this conference, but if you would mind, just kind of give us a little bit of an origin story on how you came to start Leading Blue.
Sure. Well, my career began in 1990, a law enforcement career. And I'd always been a fan of successful people, of great leaders. And one of the things that became apparent early on was those lessons were never making it to government. They were never making it to law enforcement. So about halfway through my career, I started thinking more about it. And eventually I put together a class and it evolved into a company, which is what I have now. And we go throughout the country speaking on leadership and management, different issues, and anything that really falls under that.
So, and also probably just hold your mic a little bit closer, just it might get loud in this room with all the excitement here at the conference. You said something to me, and the second you said it, I said, okay, I don't want to hear any more because I want to get into the conversation. I really liked this idea. And you said that leadership is an area of study.
Yes.
Can you go into what you mean by that?
Well, one of the things you see in a lot of organizations is people are brilliant at their specific job and they're promoted to a leadership role. And they're just expected to be brilliant in that role as well without any training. And one of the first things new leaders have to understand is that leadership is an enormous area of study. And they, for everything that they did to become what they are in their current role, they really need to try to emulate that if they want to achieve the same level of success as a leader. And the good news is there's just a world of leadership studies out there between videos and books and, commercial classes. But it's really so important because the success or failure of that organization is entirely dependent upon the leadership.
Hence why coaches get fired before players.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So when people go through the training and, the people who want to hear what you're saying, what are people typically most surprised by when it comes to how do I learn to be a leader?
I think, one of the things I put just a huge emphasis on is creating a people-centered environment. And I think in a lot of organizations, you come in and you work for a very strict environment. And to hear someone say, no, it's okay to say yes. It's okay to try to create policies that work with our people. And in some industries and some organizations, people are surprised at that. And I think they find it kind of liberating that, you know what, I don't have to follow this. I can follow my heart a little bit and really try to do things to make it a nicer place to work. Because when you get the leadership right, you can create just fantastic teams who will accomplish amazing things. But it begins with the leadership.
And is that a perspective? This might be a strange question, but I'm all about making a place of work a more enjoyable place. The challenge I have is sometimes I think people believe that means let's get ping pong tables and order cake on Tuesdays. I doubt that's what you mean.
No, you're right. And while some of that stuff is fine, if you want to create that atmosphere, depending on your organization, I think it's when you. I break it down to 7 different elements of a workplace and environment. And when you hit each element and you try to create this environment where they're not afraid to come in and ask for a certain day off or explain, we have a problem at home. And it really begins at the onboarding, because at the onboarding, when you offer excellence, you can demand excellence. And again, to use the word liberating, I have no problem asking for the absolute best for my people, because a lot of people want to work here. Like, we've created a great thing. The other piece, and this is where the environment borders with culture, is getting your people to the point where they understand it's not about what you come in and take. It's about what you come in and contribute. You're coming in here. We're expecting you to make this better than what it is right now. And, I go back to the onboarding. It is just critical that we indoctrinate them, that we let them know exactly what our expectations are. So there are no surprises later on.
I'm curious from your perspective. I don't know how you have data on this. I don't think data like this exists, but like, how many of the leaders or people that are put in leadership roles probably need coaching or probably need help or there's probably some tools they can sharpen?
Definitely. And I come from government, especially we see that in government because we do have less resources in government. But a lot of times leaders come in and they think that their leadership is going to be defined by the 5 or 7 or 9 bullet points of accomplishments they want to complete during their time there. And that's not how their leadership is going to be defined. Their leadership is going to be defined by what they do with their people, by bringing their people to the next level. If they focused instead on their people, they could still accomplish all of those things, but at the same time, they could be bringing their people to a higher level and their organization to a higher level. And one of the things that often gets missed is we think that that really an organization is judged by the leadership at the highest levels. And it really is leadership at all levels. You want to have strong leaders on the lower levels as well, that are setting that example, that are also carrying the water for what the organization wants. So it's not just about getting the top people, buy-in from the top people. We want to get buy-in from everyone in a formal role.
Have you ever found where an organization believes they need to do leadership training, but they train a middle level of leaders and the higher up leaders don't actually believe in the training?
That's a great question. And I get that all the time, where middle managers are sent and after the class or on the breaks, I really need to have our bosses sent to this, and how do we lead up? How do we influence up? And it can be very frustrating, especially, and we've met some people along the way who look at this like a religion. They love everything about the class. And that is a big part of their frustration. And, we explain you really can only control what's below you, but you certainly can influence things, what's next to you and what's above you. And you can submit ideas and sometimes we have to frame them in a way that makes it look like it's our boss's idea, or show them how it's going to benefit them or benefit the organization. But the main thing is keeping that fire lit, because once that fire goes out, then not only are they not doing what they're supposed to, but they're also letting down their people, because just because they're having frustrations, it doesn't mean, that they don't need to be there any longer for their people. And that's sometimes difficult. And we've all been there before where we're, battling that.
Yeah. It's almost like leadership, when we're talking about it this way, it really is just belief. Because if you don't believe in your people, you can't lead them. And that's where I could see potential breakdown, where you send a group of people, they start believing, but if others don't and they're higher up, we got to create all the same belief.
Right. No, that's true. And the way we define leadership in our classes is the ability to get the best out of your people. And what I love about that definition is it works if you're an NFL coach. It works if you're a 17-year-old senior and she's managing a fast food shift at a restaurant. And it works if you're managing an ENT practice with 22 employees and headaches and drama and everything else around there. The only thing they could really ask from us is to get the best out of each person that we have. And that's mission accomplished if we can do that. There's a great book by Liz Wiseman called Multipliers. And in the book, she takes it to another level. She talks about how great leaders can actually multiply what they can get out of their people. And she contrasts that to diminishers, which are leaders who come in and shut good people down.
Yeah.
And it's something, it's something we have to watch for. And just because we have a good heart and we have good intentions doesn't mean that we're not inadvertently micromanaging people or turning people off. And part of avoiding that is creating that approachability where people can come to us and say, hey, can I talk to you? And they're not fearing for their jobs or fearing for, reprisal or something.
That's great. Well, Andrew, I really appreciate you joining us today. Excited for your session. And I'm a huge fan of reading. I feel like it's almost a cheat code where I get to go download a lifetime of knowledge in a few hours of time. So I'm going to check out that book. And we'll also put a link to that book in the show notes. So if people want to read it, it's easy for them to access. And then we'll put a link to Leading Blue in the show notes as well, in case they want to reach out to you for further questions. But I really appreciate you spending the time with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much.
Absolutely. Enjoy the rest of the conference, and we'll see you next week on the Practice Leader Podcast. Thanks for listening to the Practice Leader Podcast. If you're feeling the weight of challenges in your practice, know this: the problems you're struggling with today don't have to remain problems. There is a path forward, and you're not walking it alone.
Each week, we'll be here with insights, ideas, and real-world conversations to help you move forward from chaos to clarity.
See you next week.